Are we starting? Yeah, here we are. We're live.
Welcome to Stirring the Pot with Lou Marconi and Johnny Cleveland. Part of the Fanatical L's Network, fans first. Join us now. Oh yeah, join us. Lou, how you doing? How you doing?
Good. I'm good tonight. I'm good. You?
Good. I'm just watching Baker just threw his second interception.
They call that an interception?
Oh, did they? Well, maybe not. But
Oh, man, it might have been. I don't know. Well, that guy's laying there. The Baltimore player's laying there. Let's see.
Oh, no, anyway. It was an interception. So yeah, so you see, Lou, I have my fantasy league. I have Baker. I started him, and I had a good. It started out with a bang, but now he's slipping, and I'm not sure if I'm going to win. So I'm a little disappointed right now because. Baker got me going. I was excited, and I know he played for another team, but now.
Well, if you had him on your fantasy, you might not be. Well, there's still a second half to play, so
true.
There's still plenty of time.
And they're playing the Ratbirds too, so I always like.
You want them to win, yeah. Well, you guys got to realize this: the Ravens. This is a road game, a Monday night road game, and then they're playing us on the road next week. So. They're going on the road to short week. But we could talk about that preview.
Yeah,
we have other stuff. We have other fish to fry. Yeah, we have a lot to talk about, man. Especially
Lou, I was in Wichita, Kansas, Wichita. Which I call it Wichita, and I think the story there on Wichita is I had an old friend of mine from New York who worked on a radio station in Rochester, and he didn't know how to pronounce Wichita, so he pronounced it Wichita. So there you go.
I've never heard it called Wichita. I thought you were just.
I got to spend the whole weekend out there visiting friends and family, and my Browns backers, the Oz chapter Browns backers, want to give a shout out to them. A great group of guys. They meet at Emerson Biggins. We got a couple guys that say that they watch our show, they listen to it. It's a bar, Emerson Biggins.
You missed the halftime show yesterday.
I know. Tell us about that.
It was Foreigner. They had Foreigner play at halftime. I heard it. I was like, I could say I saw Foreigner live. I recorded on my phone and I.
Yeah. What did they play? Did they play Hot Blooded?
Yeah.
Cold as Ice. Didn't they do one Cold as Ice?
Cold as Ice. Oh my God. I'm trying to think. Urgent.
Urgent. Oh yeah. Those are some of my favorite, man.
Urgent.
Yep.
That one. Yeah. So they played some couple songs and it was great. I mean, it was. They weren't on the field; they were off to the side.
Yeah.
By the platform because they couldn't set up the stage in time to do that. But guess the national anthem was played on guitar by Ozzy Osbourne guitarist Zakk Wylde.
Ooh.
Well, you got to remember the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction was the night before, so everybody was in town.
I was going to tell you about. Yeah, I had
it was a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame game. Yeah,
airport.
That wasn't the funniest thing, but go ahead. What was that?
No, I was going to say in regards to that Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the airport. We were in St. Louis, and it looked like there was some musician. He had a bunch of, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame memorabilia, just stuff. I don't know. Maybe he was just a fan, but he was all nice.
Right, thanks, Brian.
Hey, Brian. Anyhow, he's all decked out. Looked like could have been a musician. So, okay, back to you.
You probably could have been. Okay, but the funniest part, you know who came out and smashed the guitar before the game?
Who?
Flava Flav.
Really? Wow. There you go with the big. Was he wearing the big?
Yeah, he was wearing everything. He had a Browns jersey on.
Oh wow!
Just so you know, that man possesses zero upper body strength because he couldn't break it for the life of his life to bend it. He kept smashing it.
Oh, that's funny. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to know that he was a Browns fan.
He was a Browns fan for the day. He probably had no idea. He probably didn't know an end zone from a no-go zone. But it was funny. We were laughing. We're just he can't break it. We're like, he can't break it. Look at him. And then there was in the third quarter when they had that young kid play the guitar.
Yes, the kid plays every week. Yeah.
yeah, I forgot his name, but I see him every week when he does every home game when he does it. He was playing, and the Zach Wild played with him. Crazy Train.
Oh, really?
He plays Crazy Train. Yeah.
Well, I was
So that
impressed with the crowd yesterday, and I know a lot of
mm,
people were there for Nick
yeah.
Chubb, the heart and soul of the Cleveland Browns.
And I wrote my article. I don't know if you saw it or
Mm.
not. When I did I talked about the Watson injury. I said it happened, but I really didn't go into too much detail about it. But I said the loudest I heard that stadium roar all season was when Nick Chubb was introduced out of that tunnel as the
Really?
last offensive player. He got such an ovation, and it was so great that he was. And he came out. He only played in the first half. He had 11 carries for 22
Yes.
yards. And he looked like a guy that was just getting back into it, getting back into game shape and doing it.
Right.
But you want to hear the roar too was when he scored that touchdown.
Oh, yeah. Well, we thought he scored it on the first down play, and then they called a mysterious offensive offsides penalty, which was even you watch it on TV. The announcers were like, "What?" I thought that was
There,
such a bogus
I
call.
was going to ask you this. There was a penalty that helped the Bengals score a touchdown called using your helmet as a weapon on a punt return that gave him the ball on the 50.
Oh, I don't recall that one. I
Yeah,
guess
yeah. I think it took 15 swings to break. Oh, Steve, were you at the game, Steve? It took him at least 10 times to break that guitar. Yeah, he was talking about the Flavor Flav thing. Yeah, it did. But yeah, so actually one of the stats of the game was Bengals only had 3 penalties for 30 something yards, and we had 10 for 81.
yes, big.
So
That's a big.
big.
And so, like we were talking before we came on, the fact is, I mean, the Browns ran 70 some plays to the Bengals 50 some plays, and we held the
Yep.
ball for 10 extra minutes.
Yep.
And if you look at the stat line, if you just look at the stats and look at some of these things, we had a lot of decent yardage offensively. You would
We,
have
we
thunk
we
that we
actually
would have.
broke 300 yards for the first time this year on
Is
offense.
that right? Yeah, you would
Yes.
have
Yeah.
thunk that we would have done a little bit better. But considering everything that went down yesterday, and speaking of going down, was a one Deshaun Watson.
Yes.
Wow.
Good
I
segue.
was
Great
out there in
segue.
Wichita, and when it happened toward the end of the first half, a lot of just what just happened. And then when they showed the first replay, all of us in the bar were like, "Oh, she's," and it
Yeah.
was very ugly. You knew instantly that it had burst, or
It ruptured. I mean, that
yeah,
was it. He wasn't. Just so I'll tell the story I told you when we were off
yeah,
the air. It was about 2 minutes. I knew Foreigner was playing at halftime. I did want to see them, but I had to go really bad.
mhm,
My bladder was full, and I said, well, around the 2 minute warning, I said, if I go now, I could get back here before the half's over, and I don't have to worry about waiting in line and my bladder exploding. So I ran to the bathroom. I was in the bathroom, and I could hear they have the radio on,
yeah,
and a couple guys were talking real loud, but I could still hear it. It was just they just didn't make it easy for me,
yeah,
and should have should have had Flav break the clock. Yeah, that would have been funnier. That would have been funnier. But so anyway, but these guys were talking, and I could hear. Looks like an Achilles injury on one. I'm like, what? Wait a
right,
second. So I finished up, I washed up, and I ran to the where the concession stand was, where the monitor was,
right,
and he was laying on the field, and everybody was around him. And when they brought out the cart, is when I heard cheers,
okay.
and it wasn't a lot.
No,
It
and on
wasn't
the
a lot. It
TV,
was enough.
we didn't hear much on the TV.
No, it was there was some. It was enough. You could hear it if you were there.
Yeah,
And I was saying, and I asked Harvey, my friend Harvey, who I go to the games with. When I got back, I said, "Was it Browns fans?" He goes, "It was mostly." He goes, "It was both Browns and Bengals fans, just
mhm,
punks that were doing that."
yeah.
So it wasn't just Browns fans that did it. There's a lot of there's a lot of Bengals fans around us,
Right.
and that was just.
So
And
Lou,
go
a
ahead.
lot of these guys, okay,
Hmm.
so this has been pretty much a big storyline of this situation of what happened. We can get into all the other stuff about
Sure,
Deshaun in a
sure.
minute. But Miles Garrett, Jameis Winston, they all came out, they all talked
And
after.
Stefanski was asked about it, and he said he only used one word. He said disappointing.
Yeah.
He said that's all he
But
said.
Miles and Jameis came out pretty strong opinions. Greg Newsom came out with strong opinions,
Yeah.
saying it was bullshit. And
Yep. I agree
um,
with them. I
so there's a
100% agree with them. I wrote an article about it. Absolutely.
yeah.
Go
I
ahead.
mean I just wanted your take on it
Oh,
because
sure.
we've
Well,
yeah
yeah, what the thing I said was like, okay, look, if you don't like the trade, you don't like Watson, you think he's a bum, he needs to be done with. We need to just
Yeah.
pull off the band-aid, break it clean. Fine. Okay. That's fine. If you don't like him as a quarterback, you think he's a shit human being. What
Right.
if you think he did
Right.
all these things that he was alleged, or there was something going on, or there's these
Sure.
problems, all the baggage and all the BS that came with him? Fine. That's good. I understand. That's good. That's fine.
Yes. Okay.
The man is a human being.
Yep.
He put his body on the line
Yep.
to win football games for us.
Yep.
And he got hurt. He was laying on the field. At least show a little bit of decency.
Yes.
Show a little bit of class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No,
And
I hear you.
that's it. Just because you doing that makes you no better than him.
Right. Well, I mean, there's some people speculating, we don't know anything. None of us here. We've never met Deshaun Watson. We don't know him
No, I
personally.
never met him.
But
Don't know him at all.
when he's down on the cart and you can see him. When I watched the replay of it this afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
certainly crying and upset. Some people in town, some of these guys are saying, well, this is the last down that he's played in Cleveland and all this stuff.
It
Well,
might
and
be.
but
I
and
don't
it
know.
could
I don't
be,
know.
but they're also saying how why would you want to come back when he hears these cheers and he hears these boos and he hears I'm thinking to myself personally, all I'm thinking is, like, if I'm Deshaun, and I don't know Deshaun, but tell me if I'm wrong here, Lou, but I mean, if you just suffered a terrible injury like that, I'm sure maybe he heard the crowd. I mean, most people when they have a serious injury like that are just they're within themselves, they're talking about kind of, I mean, it's affecting them, but I don't think I don't know. This one guy was going on and saying, oh, it's because of the fans cheering him and all that. That's why he's crying. I'm like, bull, like, come on. Like, the guy's crying for who? We don't know why he's crying. He's
I mean,
hurt.
he's hurt. I mean, he's
Yeah.
hurt.
Yeah.
He's probably disappointed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he had the towel over his head from
Yeah.
last
I mean,
year.
the whole thing. Okay. I guess there's everybody's opinion on this stuff. I mean, we now, I mean,
Well, who was it that said that? Who was it?
it
Was it a
was
local guy?
It was the Garrett Bush guy on the local sports guy, and he was going on. He started off by saying, this is the last time that Deshaun will ever play. He'll never be in Cleveland again. He'll never, because he knows how much.
Because of
yeah,
that.
and I'm like, Bush is just I mean, he's a pompous dude. He just likes to talk, and I don't know. I don't know Greg. I shouldn't say that, but he talks a lot. So I don't take a lot of his opinions with much.
There wasn't as many fans doing it as they thought. And
no, and I think that's what Lou, I guess that's where I kind of, and I know people like
I was there.
Twitter.
I was there.
Yeah, I know you were there, and usually I'm there, but like on the X, on all these social media platforms, especially the X, there's
That's
just all this. There's just right. Well, no, you're right, Lou. I mean, this all what you're seeing on the X right now is just all this hate between within the fan base, and so then people are saying, well, we're the worst fan base ever now because we have all these,
Well, did you see my article that came out?
I have not read it. No.
The same thing happened to Terry Bradshaw in Pittsburgh.
Like when he was injured?
He was injured. They were cheering his backup. They wanted his backup to come out, and he that hurt him. He even admitted it. That hurt him when that happened. He admitted to
Was
that.
This is later in his career?
It was in the 70s.
Well, I mean, was it before he got the Super Bowls and
just before, I think.
Okay.
Just before. And also remember this too. It happened to Fran Tarkenton when he was with the Giants.
Yep.
It happened to Ken O'Brien when he was with the Jets. It happened to Danny White when he was with the Cowboys. I mean, it happened to Tim Couch 22 years ago.
Yeah. Well, Lou, let me ask you this because I'm interested. Okay, so
it's bullshit. You shouldn't do that as a fan. Period. It's not just a Cleveland thing. It's not. So that stuff is
part of
That's
the other
garbage.
perspective. The other part of this story is, okay, so he goes down, and a lot of people didn't know this that are just your casual fans, but some people were wondering why did DTR go in instead of Jameis Winston, and that was because Jameis Winston was the emergency backup. So then, of course, DTR hurts his finger.
Yeah, I don't know if it was his ring finger,
and that allowed Jameis Winston, because he was the emergency quarterback, to be able to come in. And then some people who weren't still aware were going, well, why didn't they go with Winston before DTR? I'm like, God, you guys, like, and that's, casual fans just don't pay attention. So it's like,
well, there was guys in front of us that were drinking and hanging out, and they're like, who's this DTR guy? I never heard of him. We're like, you're a Browns fan and you don't even know who this. He started games for us last year. Were you not paying
and he won a game. He beat Pittsburgh. So
he beat Pittsburgh. He had the game-winning drive to a field goal to win that game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Here's a couple things I like, Lou, about the game. I'm just looking back. I
Yeah.
don't have
Oh,
all the stats in front of
there's
me,
a lot of
but I
positives.
like that Akins and I like that Njoku. God, these guys had multiple. I mean, double digit catches for both of them. I think,
Cedric Tillman had 8 catches
or
for like 80.
Tillman did. Yeah,
Yeah, Cedric
and
Tillman had a good game too.
yeah, and so it was nice to see some of these guys getting. They were there. Now, one of the complaints early on in the game, Lou, if you watch the replay on TV by the commentators, and I tend to agree with this opinion, is and I know Deshaun's not going to play for us anymore this year, at least.
This year, at least, maybe halfway
He
next
was
year.
he was missing a lot of, and I know you were at the game and watching it, but they were showing like there were 4 or 5 examples, and again, this is where
He was missing
Watson
open
was not.
guys.
Well, he wasn't. What he was doing is he was hitting that. He was going to the check down, and he had guys in the second level getting open multiple times, and he wasn't seeing them, or at least not focused on them. Now, in that last drive when they were going down the field, like right before he got hurt, he was opening up, and he was able to get a few
He
longer
was starting to
passes.
heat up. He was starting to
Yeah,
heat up.
right.
I
But it
think.
was, yeah,
Okay, just can I just give my opinion on that
yeah,
and just
absolutely.
or what I think because he's always been a slow starting quarterback.
Hmm.
I think he was going for the low percentage slows to get himself warmed up and to get him going because he always when he first starts out in a game, he's been like that. That it just
Hmm.
takes him a while. So I think he was doing it to get himself going, and then at the end of the second half, he started opening up,
Hmm.
and then he got hurt. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's what's done is done. I mean, the trade happened, it's
Mhm.
done. The money's paid, it's done.
So
He's hurt,
tell
it's
us
done.
about what you and I talked about this before that we came on. How
Mhm.
much of a cap? Um, right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I wasn't listening to the radio. I
Yeah.
was at the game, and so a
Yeah.
couple of people saw that too in the stands. Harvey
Yeah.
noticed it, and so did I. Said, "Hey,
Well, I think that's where some of the complaints have come from prior to. I mean, all season is that he's not seeing these things. It doesn't matter now because he's not going
it's
to
yeah,
play.
it's a
So it's a
moot point at this
mute
point."
point, right?
Yeah,
So,
moot point, yeah.
mute is it
But
mute
it's moot,
moot
moot. No,
moot
what was it? Was it on Friends with
mute?
Joey? Is it moo? It's moo. It doesn't mean anything. It's moo. That's funny.
That
That's
is
actually a
funny.
line on Friends. That was funny.
That's good. Um,
Yeah, and but I think with that DTR's finger is hurt, but he might not be ready to go next week. So Jameis Winston's going to start, and which
yeah,
I'm more comfortable with him starting against the Ravens than DTR,
absolutely.
just based on experience.
No,
So
absolutely. We're both turning to see what's. It looks like the Ratbirds are
about
getting
to
ready
kick
to
a
kick
field
a
goal.
field goal. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like. Well, that's the speaking of which, Dustin Hopkins. What's wrong with him?
Jesus, Jiminy. I know. It's
I can
like,
understand the 49-yard field goal miss. I can
yeah,
understand that, but the extra point, that's the second one he did this year. We got
yeah.
it back by doing the 2-point conversion when it was like a
Well,
little
this
bit.
has been about a year now that we've had him, and things start to go south here. And
It seems like that. It seems that happens, but he was
what
he was
is like going on? I mean, that's really a huge issue right now. The special teams,
yeah,
Bubba
oh yeah.
Betrone. I mean, the first play of the game.
Yeah, we were just looking at each other like this isn't we struggle to score. We can't have this happen, you know.
No,
And actually,
everybody.
that was the difference in the game. Our defense held that high-powered offense to under 300 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Well, and if only
They
Greg
did.
Newsome. And I'm tired of hearing about how Greg Newsome still has.
Jamar Chase pushed off. Fuck that. He
Well,
pushed off. No,
okay.
I saw it from where I was sitting,
Were
and I
you
said,
there?
if that was us, it would have been called on us. So
Yeah.
those reps sucked. They sucked. They were calling it all one-sided, and we were getting all these procedural penalties, all
The
this
procedure.
bullshit.
Okay, so where does that? Where do we go with this? Because that's really okay. So Lou, it's like
I know we're all over the place right now.
we're okay. So like we're 1-6,
Yeah,
and you have all these penalties. You said like we had 10.
I think Jed Wills is last year is this year with us, and I think we're
Ugh,
drafting a left tackle in the first round.
I hope to God. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's just a simple solution. I think they're gonna. I because I'm getting a little bit ahead of this. The reason why I wouldn't think that Stefanski and Barry are on the hot seat right now
yeah.
because they have 4 years prior of a winning record, 2 playoffs appearances, and a playoff win. And I think that having a down year this year doesn't necessarily mean Haslam's going to blow it up. It
Okay.
doesn't.
Well, let's pause real quick
Yeah.
for our commercial, and let's keep talking about this after the break. And I also
Sure.
wanted to talk a little bit about the stadium stuff and Nick Chubb
Oh,
again.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
So
please.
let's pause, stirring the pot with Lou Marconi and Johnny Cleveland. Hey, we're back on stirring the pot.
Hemisphere Coffee Roasters are sponsors,
Yes,
and Hemisphere Coffee Roasters. Click on the link, details of the show, order up some coffee. It's good
that
stuff.
would be awesome. And please, please, if you haven't started following us on Apple or Spotify or watch us on YouTube, please subscribe to us. We have channels on YouTube. We have, Apple, Spotify, anywhere you listen to your podcasting, please subscribe.
Yeah. Let me kind of go over some just with the game here.
Yep.
Time of possession. We had the ball 34 minutes, 29 seconds. Bengals had it 25 minutes,
Yes.
31 seconds. All right. Let me see. Sacked yards 18 versus 17. We gave up 4 sacks. They gave up 3. Rushing yards. We had 77. Bengals had 59. Passing yards. We had 259 and the Bengals had 164.
Well, I
Wow.
will if we go okay, here's my first bold prediction is that the Browns will score more than 20 points in this game against the Ratbirds on Sunday with Jameis
Okay.
Winston. That's my first bold prediction. I'll go with that first.
Okay.
Let me talk about let's talk. I want to talk more to you about Stefanski and Barry
Okay.
because I think I what you just said before the break about
Being on the hot
because of
seat because you brought it up on the earlier today with me.
what you're saying about how they got the playoff win and all this stuff. I agree, and I guess I'm having a difficult time trying to, and it's not my decision, but I see these owners, these rich owners, the Haslams, and I see this stadium where we can talk about that in a minute,
Okay.
and all these things coming down the pike, and then you see a coach and a GM that have had relative stability and helped this organization over the last 5 years, right?
But this is their
So
5th season. Yes,
yes, so
correct.
I can see how that argument, everything like they maybe they aren't on a hot seat, but if this team loses against the Ratbirds, let's say they lose there, and
What if
then
what if they win?
right, if they win, great. What all I'm saying is, and I mentioned this to you the last time, like I know I'm being negative here, but if they're 1-12 or 1-14 or 2-10, and do you believe honestly that they're still safe?
Well, I don't think that'll get to that point.
Okay.
And I wouldn't say that. I'd say that this is what I said. As of today, I don't think they're on a hot seat.
Okay.
No, they got to start doing. They got to start improving. The reason why I don't think it'll get to that point,
Mhm.
we had. You saw those stats. How much better we did offensively. We just
Sure.
didn't finish drives.
Yeah.
We were able. And honestly, the missed field goal and that kickoff return. That's a 10-point swing.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
but just put on the brakes here.
Okay. Okay.
Put on the brakes here. You have your offensive line mostly healthy for the first time this year, and actually looking like they're ready to play, with the exception of Jed Wills had a horrible game. He had a with the penalties, and there was one. I mean,
I know he's
Watson
looking.
got sacked on his
I know.
blind side,
I know. He's
and people
he's like
started chanting Jameis, and I'm like, that wasn't on That wasn't on Watson.
it's
That was on Wills.
Olay. Hey, come on through the line. Come
Yeah, that
on
was on Jed
through.
Wills. That
He's
was on Wills. That
and
wasn't on Watson.
there
Was
was a
actually playing a
confusion you could see on that replay that he was lined up against with Batonio 75, and that
yeah
he must have thought that Batonio was going to go his
one.
way one
Yeah,
way and he went the other way, and then I mean literally they show Wills with his hands up as Watson's getting crushed, um behind the play.
it's miscommunication. Yeah, and
Wills is
there was
just
another
I,
there's
I
another
just yeah.
misnomer that was out there. People were saying we should have never got rid of Bill Callahan. Hold on, hold the phone here. We did not get rid of him.
Yeah.
That's not what happened.
No.
His son Brian got a job as a head coach in Tennessee. He saw his son's press conference. He went and requested to be released from his contract to go help his son.
Yeah.
And the Browns did not have to do this.
Yeah.
They obliged his request. They accommodated him. They said, "Hey, yeah, absolutely, we understand. It's family. Go."
Yeah.
And that's what happened. So don't sit there and think that we just got rid of them. No,
Yeah.
that's not what happened. That's not what happened. So get that garbage out of your head.
Um, I was
What do
going
you
to ask
now?
you, what do you
What's your
get it?
thing about the
Yeah.
stadium? Go ahead. What are you thinking
The
about the
stadium,
stadium?
okay, the stadium. Well, I mean, I'm looking at it from a public relations, a PR thing
Okay.
okay. The Haslam's have all this money. There's all I know up in Cleveland. You're
Yay.
closer to you're watching news and stuff more than I am because I'm in Columbus. But when we're talking about that, like I hear like the county doesn't want to put forth the money. I guess those are little
The
details.
county.
I guess
Did you read the statement the Browns put out back in March? I think it was,
yeah,
or
something. Yeah,
okay.
remind. Well,
In that statement, let me just make a reminder because there's people walking around the stadium
yeah,
saying we're not taxpayers shouldn't have to pay for a new outfit
right, right,
stadium. And
right.
hold the phone.
Yeah,
In that statement,
yeah,
they estimated it to be 3.6 billion with a B in
yeah,
costs.
right.
Okay. They already said the Haslam Sports Group said we will take care of any cost overruns right there. So if it ends up to be 4.5, they got it. Whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
1.2 trillion billion, not trillion. Geez, that's a lot. Billion is already fronted by the Haslam Sports Group.
Yes,
That's 1/3.
yes.
Another 1.2 trillion is already invested by private investors. That's 2/3 of the cost. What they said in their statement, their plan is they probably take out a $1.2 billion construction loan and pay it back
Mm-hmm.
with a usage tax on the facility itself,
Mm-hmm.
which would be concessions, parking, tickets, etc. Okay? That was the plan.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they put forth. Now, I don't know if that's what's going to happen or not, but that's what they said. Now, I think their PR team can get in front of that and saying, let's get something straight here.
Mm-hmm.
Taxpayers aren't going to do that.
Yeah.
Taxpayers aren't going to be, that's not what it is. It's the
Well,
people that are using it.
do you think, I mean, I guess here's where I'm just saying it, like, I worry about the PR, especially because of what's happening right now.
And the counter to that, John, to be
Yeah,
honest with you, this is a time sensitive project. They got to get the ball rolling.
absolutely. See,
So that's why.
yeah, and
That's the
that's you and I have
problem.
talked about that. They've got
Mhm,
it's just so like I don't think any of us, you or I,
mhm.
many folks didn't. Nobody thought this team would be 1-6. No
No,
one thought that, and no one thought.
nobody,
Now
nobody
Watson
thought
is but
Watson being out for the year, and he kind of
sure.
like, and you know what? The defense is actually, with the exception, I would say, of the Washington game. We really, and the special team when they gave up the punt return
Well, the
against Dallas,
special teams have got what is
the,
that? What is they got to get
there's
their
something
heads on
wrong.
straight? Yeah.
We got it. And the offense, what I saw was marked improvement from the offense this week
Mhm.
against a not so great Cincinnati defense, but they had their defensive line was healthy again.
I like the tight end.
Usage
That's
with
something you and I have talked about before. That in the years
in
past, it's been
Njoku
tight
got
end
that
heavy,
touchdown. That was exactly what you do when you have Njoku when you're
right?
down at the goal line.
And
You
and
throw it
and
up and he goes
Akins
up and gets it.
Too. Akins, and then like you
Akins
said,
did good.
Tillman.
Tillman had a
Um,
good. We got to get Jerry Judy going. We got to get Nick Chubb back
what
and
do you
ready.
think about Jerry Judy's reaction? Did you see that? What happened?
When he threw his helmet, yeah,
Yeah. Did you see it
he
live
was
when you were at the
frustrated.
thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw it live. He was frustrated. He was frustrated, which
Mhm,
is fine. I mean, we're all frustrated.
mhm.
I mean, if he didn't do anything and just sat down and hung his head, people are like, what's he doing? Why is he getting mad? So, I mean, and like you said,
No, they did show. Yeah. Okay.
when players came out and defended Deshaun because people were cheering that he got hurt, and they were
Yeah.
asking, a national guy was saying, well, where was this when he had his allegations? Hey, that's a legal matter. And you know what?
Right.
There's players are probably instructed not to discuss it.
Well, we've talked about that for many times. Yeah, in
Yeah. And
weeks past.
I said, yeah, his legal troubles is Deshaun's
I
business.
guess what the backfiring to that is that when you listen to some of these players like Garrett and they have every room to talk because they're veterans. They've been like, especially Garrett's been with this team for 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
It's just like when he talks about, when players talk to the fan base,
Hmm.
it just it takes fans,
By
based on how
surprise.
Yeah,
It
we
was,
all react to it differently.
but he was talking about the people that were doing that specifically, and it wasn't
Right.
everybody at the stadium.
Okay, let me ask you this. I wanted before all of this Watson's everything that happened on Sunday.
Mhm.
Amari Cooper got traded. And I haven't had a chance to talk to you last week.
Yeah,
Amari Cooper
we
got
texted
traded.
each other. We texted
Yeah.
each other.
So, I mean, here's the thing. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I think Amari Cooper is a very good professional. He does his role. When he came to Cleveland, I think he really devoted himself to things.
absolutely.
You just saw a guy though that was really bothered by things, and we don't know. We're all going to speculate what was going on behind, in
I
the
don't know.
locker room, but
He wasn't himself. He definitely wasn't
he
himself. That's
was
one
now
that we knew.
he was complimentary. When he's been interviewed in Buffalo, no, like I didn't hear anything from him that was negative toward Cleveland. But you could certainly see in his press conferences, and then again yesterday after he got his touchdown and everything, he was very happy to be where
Oh,
he's at.
he got a touchdown in Buffalo. I didn't see that.
Yeah, he scored a touchdown.
I was watching the scoreboard. I saw Tennessee was up
Yeah, he
10
had
nothing. I was like,
six
"Ooh."
receptions for 66 yards and a touchdown. I think he'll continue to do that. I mean, and Josh Allen was very complimentary, about his work ethic and learning the playbook and just doing all those things that you would expect any NFL player to do other than Johnny Manziel.
Mhm.
Um, so I didn't know. I mean, you're not going to follow obviously Amari Cooper, but he was one of my favorites. I had his T-shirt. I will miss Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all I wanted to tell you.
I will miss Amari Cooper too. I was just saying, but I mean, he wasn't gonna stay, to be honest with you. He wasn't gonna
Right.
be here next year, and I think they took an opportunity to get something in return for him. And in the long term, we
Yeah.
got a third round pick for Amari Cooper, which really essentially we got 2 great years of production out of him for a fifth round pick,
Mm-hmm.
which was crazy.
Yes.
And I'll be honest with you. That was a great move by Barry. Not, people were I heard people say, "Yeah, good trade there, Barry. You got
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Judy," and it's like, well, and I'm like, well, we got really like we got him for a fifth and a sixth round pick, so yeah, it wasn't that bad. He'll be fine. He's having a bad game. He had a bad game, so
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about that. But I'm gonna miss Amari Cooper too, just as
Yeah.
much as anybody else. And I've always heard this saying before from NFL people was don't ever fall in love with a player.
Yes.
I've heard that. I've heard
Except
that
for
for a
somebody like
reason.
Nick Chubb. So let me ask you about this.
Yeah,
I haven't. So
Nick
Nick
Chubb.
Chubb comes back.
Hmm.
He played the first half, did some really good. Didn't
Did
do anything.
great.
He scored a touchdown. Did a lot of good things.
Had one good
That
5 yard run, looked like himself, but it was only
that
he only carried the ball 11 times.
the letter he presented to the Cleveland's fans in Cleveland was just amazing. Just simply
Yeah.
really good stuff there. I was a little annoyed with some of the local takes. Dustin Fox, one of them
On the
last
Nick
week after.
Chubb letter, what did he say?
Well, he basically not on a knock on Nick Chubb, but he said that basically the organization doesn't deserve Nick Chubb because at some point in the letter, Nick Chubb mentioned how the Browns and his agent kind of came back to Nick and told him that, we're definitely bringing you back because you mean so much to the city of Cleveland and everything.
Okay.
And Dustin Fox basically just said the fans deserve him, but the organization doesn't. Dustin Fox just doesn't like the Browns organization, I guess.
Well,
But I don't know. I heard that last week. I'm like, why are we
why did he
fighting?
say that? Why did he say that? I mean,
You
I would
go.
love
I don't
to.
know. You have to go back and watch it.
I'd have to
It was
ask
on.
him. I say, why does the organization not deserve him if they're giving him a? They could have easily cut him and just did him let him
Right. I
dirty.
didn't like that take at all. I didn't know why he even brought it up. So
Well,
I was just,
you want to know what the worst take I heard was about the stadium from Jay Crawford on the Ultimate Cleveland
what
Sports
did
Show.
he say?
Well, he was talking about because you remember Mayor Bibb of Cleveland did a press conference and got
Yes.
ahead of it, and
Yes.
he complained that there are people of color that work the concessions that rely on those checks 10 days a year
Mm-hmm.
to work the concessions that are not going to be able to do that after the Browns move to Brook Park. And
Because
I sat there and said, yeah, because it's not going to be downtown. And
right.
I'm thinking like these people can't travel to Brook Park to do the same job,
Or get on the
probably for
rail.
money.
I mean, there's a lot
Get
of
on the
opportunities.
rapid.
There's a
Yeah,
lot.
it's
Yeah.
oh lordy lord, I can't go 10 miles down the road and work concession because I'm a person of color. That was so degrading and stupid. It was ridiculous.
Oh,
I
that's
that
surprising me from Jay Crawford that he would.
He said it. He said it.
Yeah.
I'm like, and he was, who was sitting there with him? G. Bush. I would have been
Yeah.
like, if I was sitting there, I was like, wait a second.
Well,
You
I don't.
can't
G.
travel
Bush
to
and
Brook
I
Park and do
see.
the job?
I
No.
already told you why I don't like.
Well, yeah, I don't.
There's
I'm
some things
fine with.
that Bush says that okay, I'll agree with, but sometimes these
I
guys,
don't agree with
especially that
everything.
one show,
Well, that was a
they
dumb take.
just
It was a
yeah,
dumb argument. It
yeah,
was a dumb take. And I
mhm,
was saying this. Look, we know this for a fact. That stadium was built in a rush.
yeah.
It's a piece of junk. It's on a 93-year-old foundation. It needs to just be
Well,
torn. This
Lou,
is an
I got to tell you this
opportunity.
story though, because like I was in Wichita with the Browns backers, and several of the guys, old timers and stuff, they're asking me, they're saying, Suchan, why don't they just put a dome
They can't
over that
do it. They
stadium?
can't do it.
I know. Well, that's what I try to tell them, and then I try to tell them what you just said, that it's built on a landfill, and it's just not conducive to
It's
doing
not
that. So
suitable. Yeah,
there's just,
it's so structurally messed up that it's not even. It's you best thing to do is just to tear the damn thing down.
and then
They
it gets into
they
the
put in all.
argument about the money, and then it's like what you said too. Like with most of the money is going to be covered. Like stop
Yeah,
worrying about the money, and you,
they're because it just goes to show how they say these things, the people that oppose it, to get emotional reaction out of people without these people understanding this is what the Browns said. Take
yeah.
If you want to take them at their word. Now, if that happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But this was what they proposed to people,
So
saying this
has
is
it
what
been
we're doing.
officially? Have the Browns officially announced it?
What they announced was they're putting all efforts into go. They said they're done with downtown Cleveland. They're going to put all efforts into working towards Brook Park.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
they said. So in
yeah.
other words, that's going to happen, and they're trying to pull the Modell rule when it's just 10 miles down the road.
Right. That's not gonna. Yeah, that's not
That's
gonna
not going to
fly.
fly in a court.
No, no.
Those are what those people are that you're seeing is a bunch of grandstanding politicians that bloviate.
Right.
And they're not talking. Look at the opportunity the city of Cleveland will have to rebuild that waterfront and
Yeah.
use that land for better purpose. Because
Right.
having an empty stadium
Mhm.
350 days out of the year just sitting there is
Right.
ridiculous. It's
Right.
it's dumb. Do you know the Browns put in a $1.5 to $2 million a year just to keep that stadium up to code?
Mm-mm. No.
Yeah. Yeah. And and it's just once people know the facts, they're like, oh, we have an opportunity to have a state of the art indoor football facility where we can host a Super Bowl, host a WrestleMania, host these
Yeah.
huge events, NCAA National Football Championship game, Big
Sure.
Ten championship game.
Yep.
You have so much there. And you
Yeah.
people just are just like, oh,
Well,
I
we
don't even.
both know that it's going to happen. I think it's just everything that's going on right now.
Hmm.
It's a house divided amongst Browns fans.
One last point, just before we go on to the Baltimore game.
Yeah.
One last point I want to give to you. I remember in 1989. Were you in Cleveland in '89 or up in the area in '89?
Yes, I was going to college, but yeah, I lived here in Ohio.
Were you at Kent? Were you at Kent in
No, I was
college?
at no. I went to Hope College. The
Okay.
Flying Dutchman.
The Flying Dutchman, the Honus Wagners. Okay. Uh, so I was in high school.
Yep.
I was 16 years old. I was a junior, and they were voting on the
Uh-huh.
Gateway Project for the syntax.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That was what is today Progressive Field and
Yep.
Rock Mortgage Fieldhouse.
Yep.
You know how many people did not want that?
Right.
You know how it passed 51 to 49.
It was very close.
The Major League Baseball commissioner came in and said, if you don't pass this and build a new ballpark for this team, they're moving. And that
Right.
was the Indians. And
Yeah.
but people were like, well, the Indians stink. The Indians stink. Now people are
Yeah.
trying to say that, well, yeah, the Browns stink this year, but a year ago
Yeah.
they made the playoffs, so meaning that how far away are they from last year's team, or
Right.
how close are they to last year's team versus to the record now? That'll be determined as games go on and the team gets healthier. So
Mhm.
I just kind of because I can already hear it now. If they pull off like 6 or 7 wins or 8 wins this year, people
Yeah.
are gonna be pissed because we blew our draft stock. I'm just
Oh.
I know it's going to happen. So just get that out of your system now.
What do you think about this game coming up this weekend? We're 1-6 now. We're watching the Ratbirds play.
Yeah.
They just took a 20-10 lead. They're kind of taking control over Baker Mayfield. And their first place going to be, let's say they win this game. They're coming into the game 5-2. The Browns are
Mhm.
1-6. Where are we at with the game on Sunday?
Short week, 2 games on the road in a row.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity we could steal one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think Jameis Winston will be suitable to get the offense productive. I think the
Yeah.
offensive line getting healthier. Did you hear anything about Jack Conklin?
No. Mm-mm.
No, because he didn't play the whole game. Maybe he was on a play count.
So he
Just
was in
like
there. Okay, I didn't even
he
know
was
that.
he started. Jack Conklin
Okay.
started. So we had all of our starters except for Wyatt Teller. Michael Dunn started for Wyatt Teller. So we had 80% of our line for the first time.
We were pretty. I mean, I thought we gave our quarterback
For the most part,
and
Jed
they
Wills
ran
just had some
with
bad plays.
DTR,
Yeah,
and maybe they do it with Winston. They had some
some good
designed
RPO plays. Yeah,
plays for the quarterback.
the reason why they didn't have did what Stefanski said why Jameis Winston wasn't the backup and it was DTR. He considered them both equal on the same level,
Okay.
but he had personnel packages and plays ready for DTR skill set. That's what he
Okay.
said. That's what he
Okay.
said. So
Interesting.
now if you buy it or not, that's up to you. But that's just what he said.
Okay.
So
Well, I'd like to take. There's so much right now with Stefanski. There's so much opinions. I'd like to believe and trust the man, and I guess we should because
after
he
4
is
years and he's been here and we want this. We've always wanted stability and good people
yeah
in place, and we have good people in place. We're having a bad year. I mean, now you blow it up. It's like, well, we don't have stability. Well,
right
what do you want? I mean, what
right
do you want? I mean,
right
honestly, I mean, you can
right
hear that. Because the thing is, John, and we're both old enough to we've seen this play out before.
yes
We've seen these things
yes.
happen, and people are going to go
I
on
mean, this is
Twitter.
a far better period in time that that stretch. You think back to all the years,
when he
especially like 2000.
when Haslam first bought the team and he brought in Chazinski, then
Is that when he did? What year
he
was
had
that? Like 2009,
he bought the team in 2012.
2012. So like, and prior to okay, so even going back, so
He,
when was
he
man?
fired Shermer. He fired Shermer after 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, some of those were just nightmares. You think about bringing in the guy from Green Bay. You think about all those teams that we kept, like you said, Rodgers. Well, and even before that, we had when was Mike Pettit
Mike
coach?
Pettin was 2014, 2015.
So he was there for
2 years.
was, but no, wasn't that when Manziel was quarterbacking
Yep.
2014?
Manziel's, yep.
Oh,
20,
that's right.
2013. Yeah. I want to say, wait a second.
Yeah.
Chazinski, yeah, he came because I know he bought the team in 2012. That 20 Chazinski coached the team 1 year in 2013. He
Yes.
got fired. Then then
Pat Shermer. When was Pat Shermer coach?
2011, 2012.
Okay, and that was 2 years for him.
2009, 2010 was Mangini.
Yeah, I mean,
And
no, man.
then 05 through 08 was Cronell.
Okay, see now I like Romeo just because he was like, but
Yeah, he wasn't winning. I mean, that's just
no,
it.
I mean none of them were, and that's the thing you're talking about. Like none of these guys won, and so we've seen at least two
winning.
seasons with Stefanski where we've won.
We made the playoffs. We won
Yeah.
enough to make the playoffs. So, them having those 2 seasons in the last 4 years and making some good moves, I think that could buy them another year. If we're sitting here next year and they only win 1 or 2 games this year, and we're sitting here at 1 and something next year, then there's a problem. But I do not see
my
that
time
happening.
frame on that is that if we start this new stadium in 2029, so that means we got 2025, 26, 27, 20. So that's 5 seasons or 4 seasons
after this one.
That if they want to make a coaching change and they want stability, or if they want to, like, they got to get a new guy, and they got to do it within the next year to give them that next guy.
This last offseason, Barry and Stefanski got extended.
Oh, I know
so
they're
under contract this year, and then 4 more years after that. So they just got extended, and people were up in arms that the extension didn't happen quick enough, and it's just like now you're ready to get rid of them. It's like hold the phone.
But what I'm saying, just suggesting is like you and I both are suggesting if next year we're in the same position, then they have to let him go.
But I don't think anybody. I don't see that happening.
The next guy would be given. either you put an interim guy in for the finish out the year, and then the new guy you'd hope would have 3 years prior to the dome. Like you would want to think that the Haslams would want to have some guy, maybe Stefanski, to steady the ship and get them into that new ballpark. You don't want a brand new coach. I mean, maybe you do. Maybe you want to, when you go into the.
Well, it all depends on what the situation is. I mean, you can't really predict 4 or 5 years from now.
No,
You can't.
I
And
don't.
that's the other thing I heard was tickets are going to be so expensive. I said, dude, look at what tickets cost 5 years ago compared to today. Look what things cost 5 years ago compared
Yes,
to today.
yes,
Just
yes,
that's just another dumbass
yes.
argument. So I think
Well,
it. Look, when Jacobs Field opened up, people lined up to come in. You couldn't even get tickets.
oh yeah, what a
The
beautiful
team,
ballpark.
and what did it was the Indians started winning.
Yes. And
So,
speaking of the Guardians or the Indians, they had battled, but they lost to the
yep.
Yankees
Hmm.
pinstripers. What that game 3 was phenomenal. And it's
That
it's
was
really
great.
hard. I don't know about you, but like as a sports fan, just in general, that I love what happened in game 3. It was just phenomenal.
No,
But
that
but
was
20 or
amazing.
30 years from now, I look back and I guess as a Cleveland fan, it's like, okay, but they didn't win the series. So can I
Mhm,
still look at that moment in time?
mhm.
I mean, as is it as
Did
powerful?
didn't they lose a series to the Yankees 7 years ago when Lindor hit a grand slam, I think, in the playoffs?
Yes.
Because I
Yes.
was holding my daughter, she was just a baby at the time, she was, like, 4 months old,
Yes.
and she was sleeping, and I
Yes.
and I forgot I was holding her because I went, "Yes!" And I went and then she started
Ah,
crying. I'm like, "Oh my god,
yes.
I'm so sorry, I woke you up."
Yes.
I'm like, "Oh my
Yes.
god."
Yes.
So,
Well, I
and
just it was such a magical moment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what's great. That's a great thing about it. And like the magical moment of Nick Chubb running out that tunnel, Nick Chubb
Yeah.
scoring a touchdown. I was
Yeah.
there. We were all happy.
You're
It was kind of funny because I was standing there. I was standing because I wasn't in my seats, but I was standing by the entranceway because I wanted to see this. I didn't want my back
yeah.
turned. And I'm standing there like this, and these two guys were talking to me, and these two guys were talking, and they're both happened to be African American. Let's just say they're both
Sure.
black. And one guy said they were kind of saying, one guy said to the other one, well, look, N word, but he said the N word. And just something like they were just
Yeah.
shooting back and forth. And I turned around, looked, I said, he said that, I didn't.
Right.
And they laughed. They both started laughing. I swear to God, they thought it was funny. Like, no, man. They like gave me they're like high five me for saying that. I was like, you
Well,
said that. I didn't say
it was a great.
that.
I just it good to see
It was
Nick
a great
Chubb
mo
back.
it was a
Yeah.
great moment. It was a great time. I wish the game would have turned out better. I wish what happened with Watson didn't happen. He had a better game. He was able to finish it.
Right.
And it's just, hey, things happen. It did happen. It wasn't all the fans.
Yeah.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't all the fans. It was a
No.
smattering of fans that did it, but it's like kind of like the one asshole in the room's the loudest. So it's just
Right.
it's just
Right.
kind of like that. So that's what
Well,
happened.
I'm sure that down on the field, some of the players were talking. I'm sure there were fans that were closer to the field who probably have loud voices and amongst all that stuff probably made some noise that we don't even know about, and that's probably what some of these guys are referring to. So,
Right, right. And you know what
um,
the thing is, but when I just want to say this, guys, good times and bad times are they're two things that are constant about them. They don't
mhm,
last forever.
no. Well, we're Browns fans. We're going to see what happens next week.
We're gonna
Lou,
see what I'll be there. I will be there. Will you be there?
I have some other things going on, so I may or may not be
Well,
going
we
there.
got the next 2 weeks at the stadium, then we have the bye
I
week.
know I will be there. Now I will be there for the
There's
Chargers
an
game.
the Chargers game's an opportunity too because you got a West Coast team coming in for a 1 o'clock game,
Yes. Yep.
and that
Um,
usually bodes well for the East Coast team.
we will
Usually,
be up in Cleveland. Actually, my wife and my daughter, we're going to be up at Geneva on the lake. Never been there before.
awesome. Oh
Going to
yeah,
be
great
going up
place.
there that
Been a long
weekend.
time. I
So
haven't been there in 20 years, but yeah,
yeah, yeah,
you
I'm
guys.
excited.
And fans, like I said, to the people that actually did that cheered him, the only thing I said, I'll say what I said in my article. This is an opportunity for everybody to really take a time to think about what kind of human being do you want to be? All right. What kind of a human being do you want to be? Now, you might, whether you like this person or not for whatever reason, they're still
Mhm.
human beings and we should remember that. And he put his
Yeah,
body on the line for us.
absolutely. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Lou, have a great night.
You too, guys. Thank you for joining us. Hey, by the way, I'm going to plug one thing. Tomorrow night, I will be on Bougie Sports with the Squad Pod in costume for a Halloween show. I'm going to be Sherry's team partner on the trivia game or something.
Woo!
Yes, and Friday night, Burning River Browns Talk. I will be here 2 weeks from the week after next Friday. Mike Davis from Dallas will join me and talk about their stadium versus ours.
Oh, so, I love that. Way to go.
Yep. I got Mike Davis.
Mike
Michael
is a
great guy. Great person.
Guy,
be a good show.
Great guy. Look forward to
I'm
watching
trying to get
that.
Jack Duffin on to talk about salary cap liquidations.
I love it.
He's on his honeymoon right now, so he's
he's not allowed to have a honeymoon.
He's allowed to have a honeymoon. I'll get when you get back. We got plenty of time to talk.
Lou's stirring the pot. See you, bud.
Good night, guys. Love you.